There was a plane crash that took the life of the sole occupant, the pilot, yesterday afternoon on military land southeast of Fairbanks, part of Fort Wainwright. No details yet as to who the pilot was or how his plane went down. A military helicopter just happened to be in the area when the plane went down and heard the emergency beacon. A House candidate, or candidate for the House of Representatives of the state down in Anchorage, is in fear, he says, because of an interview he gave with Amy Dembowski, who was on the Anchorage Assembly herself, and she raised into question his connections to a group that the FBI is investigating, saying that it's very possible that he has ties to Islamic radicalism. For the very fact that she raised that question says that he now is in fear. He went to the Assembly meeting and demanded an apology. She would not give one. However, L.V. Gray Jackson, the chair of the Assembly, gave a tearful apology to the family on behalf of the Assembly. There are 2 people still missing. 3 others were rescued after a fishing vessel sank near Dutch Harbor. It's not looking good, as at least one of those people apparently was not in a survival suit. The leaders of Fairbanks, North Pole, and the borough have named their legislative priorities as they were meeting with legislators this week, talking about finding a revenue source for the state, as well as lowering the cost of heat in the interior. An auto shop owner in Bethel has applied for the final liquor license. Bethel's allowed 3 liquor licenses. 2 of them have been acquired by big companies. He said the reason why he applied for that 3rd one is simply to give another option besides the 2 big companies. Anchorage Assemblymember Bill Evans has filed a sales tax ordinance, which, if approved by the Assembly, then goes before the voters in April. It would require a 60% approval in order for it to take effect. Its 4% sales tax would affect everything, including rent. Also, the carmaker Audi is planning to return to the North Slope for secretive cold weather testing, a deal with the state that is going to pump several $1 million into the state economy. Also, electric cars in Juneau are getting a special boost as the electric company in Juneau is offering breaks to homeowners who have electric cars. It was still a man who was traveling through British Columbia, did not arrive when he was supposed to, and now his family fears for his safety as his car was found abandoned along the road. The Fish Factor column notes that the numbers of fish in the sea, it's larger than they thought. It looks like there's going to be a big harvest of cod this year. Fish in the sea, indeed. The victims are still recovering after the Midtown shooting this week in Anchorage, and it is still under investigation. As you recall, there was a major altercation in the street between 2 groups of people. It escalated, and then somebody got shot. 3 somebodies, in fact, showed up at the hospital. One of them is in very serious condition. A sexual assault trial in Fairbanks continued on with final arguments yesterday. Man is accused of raping his former girlfriend after they had been drinking together. UAA is announcing the winning proposals for Arctic Science and Engineering. That'll be coming out shortly. Also, it looks like there's some more work to be done on oil taxes. Some loose ends to be tied up from some laws that were passed a couple of years ago, 2013. A Palmer man has been arrested on child porn charges, not simply possessing but actually making the pornography as well. And the state has chosen a new vendor for their student assessments, which will begin next year. Senator Egan, appearing on KINY Radio in Juneau, spoke in favor of keeping the UAS School of Education in Juneau instead of moving it to Fairbanks, as the Board of Regents is meeting next week to decide the issue. And in Anchorage, they've asked for the public's help in finding a 21-year-old robbery suspect. They've named him, they just can't find him. Also, it looks like in Fairbanks, an Alaskan organization is providing $20,000 in seed money for local entrepreneurs. And the Juneau Empire reminds people that 'tis the season for phone scammers. Be careful if you get a call from somebody that you don't know. The Fairbanks City Council knocked down 2 different PSEA contract funding ordinances on Monday night. They'll be reconsidered here coming up in the next meeting. And it looks like Stellar sea lions are improving in the Gulf of Alaska, but not in the western Aleutians. Thousands of snow geese died after landing in a toxic Montana mine pit. Apparently they thought it was a pond. It was not. 2 million pounds of ready-to-eat chicken have been recalled, and the state of Alaska may have some of it. And experts are now speculating on the possibility of gang activity in the murder of David Grunwald. New information about a serial killer victim from the 1980s. One of the Green River Killer's victims may have been from Alaska. Her composite picture is being shown on public media. In Anchorage and across the state, small business owners are feeling the pinch of the recession that is now gripping Alaska as people are spending less for Christmas. And in Sitka, the hydroelectric plant undergoing repairs right now, the city is having to depend on diesel. A man in Fairbanks was arrested for stealing a truck from the Nissan dealership because he was, quote, fighting demons and doing God's work. He also had a couple of grams of cocaine on him at the time of his arrest. In Anchorage, there are struggles in getting the pot shops open. The pot shops have opened up in Fairbanks and in Valdez and in Juneau, but not in Anchorage because they have to get the buildings up to code. The Anchorage Assembly took a lot of testimony on an ordinance that would overhaul the cab industry, opening up the number of permits. In fact, they ran out of time for how many people had showed up to testify. It looks like people in Alaska, if you are having a hard time with affording health care, there are a number of options for you and a website as well. You can read about that at ktva.com. The high school teacher from Soldotna was named the Teacher of the Year this year, and Project Angel Tree from the Anchorage Police Department had such success in its first couple of weeks this year that they have now added more children to the tree. And lastly, you've heard of cabin fever. There is now an exhibit at the Anchorage Museum, experimental films showing the effects of cabin fever. That exhibit will be on display there at the Anchorage Museum through the beginning of the next year. So basically, I think through at least 6 months or so, that's going to be on display there. That's our Alaska news. Stay with us. In just a moment, I'll give you a commentary on the Amy Dembowski comments that were made during her radio show that has a Muslim family saying that they are in fear. I'll tell you a little bit about that and what I think. If you like what I'm doing, be sure to become a subscriber at radiofreespeech.com. Tell your friends about it, and hit me up on YouTube and Facebook. Thanks.